My early life, I started off in Hawaii, and that was because my mom was married. Not to my biological father, but she was married to another man. They were married for about 10 years. I came back to Florida, West Palm, when I was, I think, 5 or 6. And that's when my biological father came into play, and I started seeing him more often. And when I spent more and more time with his family, they were teaching me something contrary to what my mom was teaching me. My mom was teaching me to be more caring, to, be open about your emotions, be nice to people. But there were more kids on my dad's side. They used to, when I get older, I'm going to do drugs. When I get older, I'm going to go rob stores. When I get older, I want to have 6 guns and a bunch of kids. So I tend to fall into that crowd. So I used to say the same things, do the same things to get to where they wanted to be. Then I started following my father because I said, this is my real dad. I might as well be like him. And this is around the time and my mom and her husband were going through some rough times, so I was spending a little bit more time with my dad. And he was not the right influence. He used to steal a lot, get into a lot of fights. There used to be a bunch of stories about how he used to live and how he still lives. So it led me to act that way in school. I used to be a bully. I used to enjoy hurting people, pushing them down, getting into fights. I used to enjoy going to stores and stealing whatever I wanted because I never really had the money to buy it. I was at his house, and we were watching a movie. It was a very inappropriate movie. And he said, do you want anything from the store? I said, yes, I would like a drink. And he went to the store to get me a drink. And he came back about an hour later, and he didn't say no words to me. He said something to one of his girlfriends. He said, yeah, I just got into a fight. I think this dude is dead. And so me, 8 years old, I jump up, I look around, I see that nobody's laughing. He's taking this seriously. So I go to the door, and he's like running down the street as fast as he can. And about 15 minutes go by. I'm still at the door. He's nowhere to be found. I see him sprinting back to the house. There are about 4 or 5 police cars driving after him. He runs, he hops the fence, and my mom picks me up about an hour later. I haven't talked to him for about 2 or 3 months after that, and then he called me when he was in jail, and he told me the full story. That led me to go down this kind of a darker path to what I was already doing. It made me just think, okay, that man must have not liked my dad. Not a lot of people might not like my dad, so that means that they might not like me. So it led me to get into, I want to say even more fights. I definitely had a void, and that void was feeling empty, feeling like, my mom, like I said, she was in a relationship with this man for 10 years, and he left. My father went to prison, and it made me think he wasn't thinking about me when he did the thing that he did. The man who was in my life for 10 years wasn't thinking about me when he left. So I was like, I'm not going to have a father figure. I'm not going to have someone to look up to. My life changed about 2 years after I found out my dad was going to jail for 30. I was living with my mom. We were in a not so good community with not so good influence all around, including family members. So I used to go outside all the time with these not so good influences. And there was this church that would come there, I think it was every Wednesday. And they told me, yo, come. I was like, why should I go there? They were like, they got free Chick-fil-A. And so I went, and it wasn't the Chick-fil-A that kept me coming back. It was the messages that they were telling and how they connected with my life in ways that I didn't expect them to do that. Because I thought, these were just some rich people coming to talk to some kids, just because. And I figured out it was a lot more than that. The way I met Thomas, he came out there to play a game of Foursquare. And he was the most hype guy there. And then me and him had a conversation. I can't exactly remember what that conversation was about, but I think he's seen something in me that I didn't see in myself because he invited me to come to his youth group. And not a lot of kids that were there were even going to that youth group. So when I went, I was surprised to see it was a different environment than how it would be at, my community. Those kids were, in my head, I was like, these are the kids that I should be wanting to be like. These are the kids that I should want to hang around. And at first it took me a while to open up because, I thought I was a lot different from everyone there. But I realized that everyone has a story. And when I got to get to know those kids, I realized that we have a lot in common. If it wasn't for the church on Wednesdays, I would probably be with my uncles, smoking, stealing. I probably would have a gun right now, lying to my mom. I'm never home now, but that's because I'm always with my church. Well, this church. But I probably would never be home because I was on the streets. I talk to a lot of youth now a lot, and they're saying, you changed. And I was like, I did. You can change too. You can change for the better. You just have to let God in. Because what I was doing, I was denying God. I was pushing him as far as I can away because I felt like it's just another thing that's going to hurt me. When really, he saved me. And I would really like to see everyone in my community get saved.